Hello everyone, and welcome back to the TikATeeMethod. We're going to be entering a new 2-week concept here for weeks 18 and week 19. We're going to be diving into simple time signatures. Now, if you don't know what simple time signatures are, then this video is for you, so I hope you'll stick around. My name is Ron Castonguay. I'm a longtime educator, composer, author, conductor, clinician, and performer. I'm really glad you're joining me here on the TikATeeMethod YouTube channel for the 18th video. After this video, we will be halfway through with our 36-week curriculum. So a really momentous occasion here at the conclusion of this video. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive in. All right, here we are on the first page of week 18 and week 19, and you'll notice at the top of the page it says more simple time signatures. Now, why does it say more? Because from weeks 1 through week 17, all of our exercises, all of the rhythmic concepts that I've introduced, all of the musical sight words that I've introduced, including those that have dotted rhythms or ties, have all been in 4/4 time, in common time. Common time is indeed a simple time signature. So what is a simple time signature? Well, it says right up here at the top, simple time signatures refer to those that have beats that are divisible by 2. So every one of the time signatures that we study in week 18 and week 19 are all going to have beats that are divisible by 2 without the use of any extra musical notation like borrowed divisions and tuplets and triplets and things like that. We'll get into those later. There are 3 different types of time signatures: simple time signatures, compound time signatures, and complex time signatures, which can also incorporate composite time signatures. We'll get into those later. But here in week 18 and in week 19, we're going to focus on a few different time signatures where all of the beats are divisible by 2. So let's dive in a little bit further. You'll also notice on this page that each of our time signatures for weeks 18 and 19 are divided into one of 3 categories: a duple category, a triple category, and a quadruple category. Now let's read the second line here. You will also notice a label of duple, triple, and quadruple as it relates to the number of beats in each measure. This helps further label a time signature with more specificity. In other words, if I have a simple duple time signature, it means that I have a time signature that has 2 beats in each measure, and each one of those beats is equally divided into 2 parts. If I have a simple triple time signature, it means that there are 3 beats in the measure, and each beat can be equally divided into 2 parts. And if I have a simple quadruple measure, like 4/4 time, for example, it has 4 beats in the measure, and each one of those beats can be divided into 2 equal parts. Common time is simple quadruple. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what the top number and what the bottom numbers mean in a time signature. Let's start with the top number for each of these time signatures because this one is the easiest to wrap our heads around. So we'll start with simple duple, and we'll notice that we have a 2 on the top of each of these time signatures, which means that we have 2 beats in each measure. If we go to the triple, guess what number is going to be on top? A 3 is going to be on top of all of these time signatures. And therefore, quadruple, which means 4, we can guess that the top number on these time signatures is going to be 4. The top number in a time signature refers to the number of beats in each measure. Now, later on, in compound time signature, for example, some of that may shift, some of that thinking may change, but in simple time signatures, the number on the top refers to the actual number of beats or pulses in every single measure. And the bottom number in a simple time signature refers to the type of note that will get the beat. Let's look at these 3 examples under our simple duple time signatures. In the first one, we have a 4 on the bottom number. The 4 on the bottom number refers to a quarter note getting the beat. So in this example, we have 2/4. 2 beats in the measure, and the quarter note will be getting the beat. That quarter note can be equally divided into 2 eighth notes. That's why it's a simple time signature. Let's look at the second example. There is a 2 on the bottom. When there's a 2 on the bottom, that refers to a half note. So in this one, there will be 2 beats in the measure, but the half note will be getting the beat, and the half note can be equally divided into 2 quarter notes. This is also known as cut time or alla breve. This will be further discussed in week 20, so stay tuned for more on cut time. Let's look at the third example where we have an 8 on the bottom. When there's an 8 on the bottom, that refers to an eighth note. So there are still 2 beats in the measure, but now the eighth note will be getting the beat. Can an eighth note be equally divided into 2 parts? Absolutely. 2 16th notes equals 1 eighth note. So an eighth note is divisible by 2. So this falls in the category of simple duple. Let's move on to simple triple and check these exercises out. We have a 4 on the bottom here. We know that that refers to the quarter note. There are 3 beats in the measure. The quarter note gets the beat. Each beat is divided into 2 equal eighth notes. We have a 2 on the bottom here. Therefore, there will be 3 half notes in the measure, 3 beats per measure. The half note gets the beat, divided into 2 quarter notes. And the third one here, 3 8. There are 3 beats in the measure. The eighth note gets the beat, and the eighth note is divided into 2 16th notes. And our last category, simple quadruple. We know that common time, there it is, 4/4 time. There are 4 beats in the measure. The quarter note gets the beat. Every single one of those 4 beats can be divided into 2 equal eighth notes. And then beneath that, we have 4/2. So there are 4 beats in the measure, but the half note is getting the beat. And the half note will be divided equally by 2 quarter notes. And in the last one here, we have 4 8, and we just learned that the 8 stands for the eighth note. That means that there will be 4 eighth notes in each measure, and that eighth note will actually get the beat or the pulse. And those eighth notes can be equally divided into 2 16th notes. So as you can see, the top number just means the number of beats in the measures, and in our case here for week 18 and 19, we're either going to have 2, 3, or 4. And the bottom number refers to the type of note that will be getting the beat. And here in weeks 18 and 19, we're going to have one of 3 choices. We're going to have a 4 on the bottom, a 2 on the bottom, or an 8 on the bottom. Those are going to be the types of time signatures that we do in our exercises for weeks 18 and 19. And what a segue. Let's go try some exercises right now and put some of this knowledge into action. All right, here we are at exercise 18A, and we can see we've got ourselves a simple duple time signature. Why? Because there are 2 beats in the measure, the quarter notes getting the beat, and each one of those quarter notes can be equally divided into 2 eighth notes, hence simple duple. We're going to analyze this exercise just as we've done for weeks 1 through 17. We're going to vocalize it. We're going to perform it with a metronome. We're going to go check it against the MP3 on my website, and then we're going to perform it on our instrument, the final step before moving on to the next exercise or rhythmic concept. So let's get into the analysis for exercise 18A right now. In measure 1, we've got 2 quarter notes, ta, ta, falling on the beats in 2/4 time. In measure 2, T, 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 and each of those eighth note pairings are equally dividing those quarter notes, hence simple time. In measure 3, we have our week 6 musical sight word, that dotted quarter note to the flagged eighth note. We know that that takes up 2 beats, and in 2/4 time, that's a full measure. In measure 4, we have our week 12 reversed dotted rhythm, the flagged eighth note going to the dotted quarter note. That'll create some fun syncopation and also takes up 2 beats. Moving on to measure 5, we have Tik-A Tik-A here on beat 1, and on beat 2, we've got our dotted eighth note to 16th note rhythmic motif, Ti-Ya, Ti-Ya, some fun 16th note syncopation there at the end. And in measure 6, we have our week 10 rhythmic sight word, ti-ta-ti, ti-ta-ti. Some fun eighth note syncopation. We know that's a 2-beat musical sight word, therefore it takes up a full measure in 2/4 time. And in measure 7, we've got a tie here, so some more fun. We have T-Tik-A on beat 1, and we have Tik-A-T on beat 2. But because of this tie, I'm going to parenthesize this 2 because we're not going to articulate tick in this case. We're going to hold the ah over from here, and then we're going to say this ah on that first 16th note of beat 2, and this T on the upbeat of beat 2 in that measure. Some fun syncopation there. That's going to sound like this. I'll say it for you. 1, 2, ready, and T, Tik-A, T. T, Tik-A, T. Some really fun rhythmic motifs there. And in the last measure, measure 8, we have a half note that takes up the full measure, of course, in 2/4 time. I would tell my students to write -1 here to make sure we have ta release, that we hold that out all the way to beat 1. Okay, I efficiently analyzed exercise 18A. You know what time it is. We need to go vocalize. We need to go perform this exercise with a metronome. I hope you'll join me. Let's go do that right now. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is clear all this ink so we can see the exercise a little bit more clearly. I'm going back to the metronome from violinlounge.com, so a big shout out to the folks at that website for offering up a free online metronome. I'm going to be vocalizing this on a G3. You're welcome to join me on this pitch an octave higher, an octave lower, or a different note altogether, but I do hope you'll vocalize the rhythm with me. Let's get the metronome started, and you'll notice I have a 2 at the bottom of the metronome. That's because there are 2 beats in the measure, so you'll hear a little bit of an accent on the downbeat of each measure here in 2/4. So here we go. Going to count it off, and then we're off to the races. 1, 2, ready, and ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, Tik-A, Tik-A, ti, a, ti, ta, ti, ti, Tik-A, a, ti, ta. Stop the metronome. You heard that I held the last note full value. We now need to go to my website, find the MP3 for exercise 18A, and see if we did it correctly before moving on to performing this exercise with our instrument. Let's go do that right now. Okay, here we are at my website where you can find all 363 of the MP3s that accompany my book. So here we are at exercise 18A. I'm going to press play on this exercise in a moment, but let's review our 3 options. Option number 1, you can just listen to the MP3 and check for your accuracy that way. Option number 2, you can vocalize and sing along with the exercise with the MP3. And option number 3, you can break out your instrument, especially if your instrument is not primarily the voice, and play along with the MP3 for exercise 18A. So here we go. Make your decision, option 1, 2, or 3. I am pressing play on exercise 18A right now. One, 2, ready, and ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, Tik-A, Tik-A, ti, a, ti, ta, ti, ti, Tik-A, a, ti, ta. There you have it, short and sweet. That is the MP3 for exercise 18A, and if you didn't choose option number 3, which is playing this exercise on your instrument, then now is the time to do that before moving on. And if you have, then let's move on to the next exercise. One, 2, ready, and ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, Tik-A, Tik-A, ti, a, ti, ta, ti, ti, Tik-A, a, ti, ta. All right, let's move on to exercise 18F, where we have a simple triple time signature. There are 3 beats in the measure. The quarter note gets the beat, and each one of those quarter notes can be equally divided into 2 eighth notes. Simple triple time signature. 3/4 is also commonly referred to as a waltz. And later in the book, I'm going to be getting into a concept called metric accents, and where accents organically happen in all of these different time signatures. But you'll have to stay tuned for that. One concept that I do go over in the book for week 18 and week 19 is how the invisible bar lines adapt to each of the time signatures that we go over in these 2 weeks. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but it's really important that you pick up my book so that you can understand how invisible bar lines adapt to 2/4, 4/8, 3/4, and so on. There is an entire section in my book on that in these weeks, and again, I won't be going over that in this video. Okay, without further ado here, let's analyze exercise 18F so we can get to performing it. In measure 1, we've got 3 quarter notes happening on each of the 3 beats in 3/4 time. So ta, 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 happening right on the downbeats. And in the second measure, we have the divisi of those quarter notes. So in other words, T, 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 T. Each one of those quarter notes can be equally divided into 2/8 notes, and it's demonstrating that in measure 2. All right, let's move on to measure 3. We have our week 6 motif here, taking up beats 1 and 2, that dotted quarter note to the flagged 8th note, and then we have T, Tik-A here on beat 3. I think that's from week 7, if I recall. In measure 4, we have ta on beat 1, a quarter rest on beat 2, and then another ta quarter note on beat 3. Moving on to measure 5, we have T, T happening here on beat 1. This quarter note comes in on beat 2, but because of this tie, we're not actually going to re-articulate that. So I'm going to put a parenthesis here around beat 2, and we're actually going to hold the T for 1.5 beats. Coming in on beat 3 here, we have our week 11 rhythmic motif, that dotted 8th note to the 16th note. Then in measure 6, ta here on beat 1, an 8th rest on beat 2 with this upbeat flagged 8th note on the upbeat of beat 2, and then T, T on beat 3. In measure 7, we have Tik-A, Tik-A, TikAtee. Again, we've got another tie here. So we have this beat 3 that I'm going to parenthesize because we won't be re-articulating that. We'll be holding the T from the upbeat of 2 all the way through. Then we have Tik-A on the upbeat of beat 3. And in the last measure, we've got a dotted half note, which of course takes up all 3 beats. We want to write -1 here, so we do hold that full value. Ta, release. So I would tell my students to write -1 there. Okay, once again, we've efficiently analyzed exercise 18F. It is now time to go throw on a metronome, give ourselves a pitch, and perform this exercise. And just like we did for the last exercise, let's go ahead and clear the ink here so you can see the exercise a little more clearly. You'll notice at the bottom of the metronome, I changed the beats from 2 to 3. And when I do the count off, I'm just going to give 1, ready, and, since there are only 3 beats in each measure. All right, let's get the metronome started. We're at 74 beats per minute, or the quarter note equals 74. Here's the G3 that I'll be vocalizing this on. And again, it's going to be a 1, ready, and count off. Here we go. 1, ready, and ta, 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 T, 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 ta, T, T, Tik-A, ta, ta, T, 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 a ta, T, 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 Tik-A, Tik-A, TikAtee, Tik-A, ta. Okay, stop the metronome, and you know what the next step is. We've got to go to my website. We've got to go listen to exercise 18F's MP3 to make sure that we did it accurately. So let's go do that right now. All right, here we are back at my website where you can find all the MP3s. You know what your 3 options are, so hopefully you've already made up your mind, because without further ado, I'm going to press play on exercise 18F. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, and ta, 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 T, 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 ta, T, T, Tik-A, ta, ta, T, 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 a ta, T, 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 Tik-A, Tik-A, TikAtee, Tik-A, ta. And there you have it, my friends. There is exercise 18F. So if you played along on your instrument, awesome. You're ready for the next rhythmic exercise or concept. If you have not played exercise 18F on your instrument, especially if your instrument is not primarily the voice, now is the time to do that. 1, 2, 3, 1. Ready, and.
Ta 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 ti 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 ta ti ti ticka ta ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ticka 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 ti ticka ta.
All right, that does it for week 18. I hope you'll join me for week 19 when we go over more simple time signature exercises. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I do hope that you'll check out my book, Rhythmic Sight Reading, the TikATeeMethod. It's available at my website, roncastonguay.com. It's also available on Amazon and at jwpepper.com. And don't forget to check out my store, Ron Castonguay Music. There are a lot of great resources there for music educators, music students, and music professionals alike. And I do hope you'll help out the channel by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment below if you're so inspired to do so. I will reply to any and all comments. Thank you again for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.